Joining me is Susan Credle, the global chair of FCB and the first ever creative advisor for IPG.
Yes, that sounds about correct.
So, congratulations, Susan. That's a big one. That's a big new role that you've got yourself there. Tell me, what is going to be your approach into fitting into a role which never existed?
Well, that's interesting, right? Yeah, I should have thought about that before I said yes, I would do this. My approach to any job is a little bit of a 1-3-5-7, which is the first year that you're taking on a new role, you kind of observe, even if it's an established role, you look around, you see what culture's doing, see what people are doing, see what you're up against internally and externally, and you start to shape things and think about it. I think that, when I chose the title creative advisor because I've always believed that when you're talking to, CCOs that are running companies, they should be the leaders. I wanted that autonomy when I had those roles. And so to me, what I wanted was someone who was in my corner, coaching me, helping me. They say it's lonely at the top. Well, maybe an advisor can make it a little less lonely. So I think that's the first thing, is just to be, I've been in this business 30 years. I've had a lot of experience, and if I can help people not have the failures that I had, because I can tell them don't do that, or to say where I got to success faster. So I think that's the first part of the advisor role. I also think as we look at what we call holding companies, I don't think that's a correct term, because by definition, a holding company does not get involved with the products and services of the companies that they hold. Okay. They manage them from a portfolio finance. Okay. So we obviously are, the companies, IPGs of the world, are involved with the products and services of the companies that they hold, which means that, and I think Philippe Krakowski recognized this when we were talking last year, you need to have a creative voice at the table. You have to have somebody representing that part of the things that we do in marketing and advertising. So that's the other reason, is I think advising IPG on what gets our agencies to the greatest amount of success fast. So having a voice at that table, representing agencies, underneath IPG.
And while you'll be handling many more agencies under IPG, you'll also be relinquishing your role at FCB. So does that make you sad? It has been your baby for 9 years.
Yes, I don't have children, but I imagine what it must feel like when parents watch their 20-year-olds drive away in a car with all their stuff and they're not coming back. And you're like, oh, that's, it's, you wish them well, and you hope that you've taught them well. You hope that they've taken some of the things that you taught them, when they were growing up, and that they hold on to them. And I think so. I mean, I look around at, the assets, the language that we speak at FCB, and I don't think that will go. I don't think that's going to go with me. I think it's going to stay. So, and it's kind of nice. I think it's a rare thing when you're leaving your job, but you're not really leaving. You're not, like when I left BBDO to go to Leo Burnett, or when I left Leo Burnett to come to FCB, that's a big, hard cut. Yeah. That was gut, it was so hard. But this one, it's a gentle hard.
Makes sense. And also, what made you pick the successor, as Andrea's successor?
So well, first of all, I'm really proud of all the CCOs that we have around the world. And I've always talked about, every year, the succession plan. And, we would go up to IPG and they'd be like, if you were to be hit by a bus, who? And we pretty much knew in year 3 or 4 or 5 that the best thing for FCB would to be lift someone up from internal, because it's a special way that we get to the work that we get to, and the jobs that we do. And to have someone else come in and start changing up everything, I think would have been terribly disruptive. So what I loved about Andres, and like I said, we have a suite of CCOs that I would have been happy to have taken my job. But I think Andres, a couple of things. Chicago is our biggest office. He's been very passionate about the language, the DNA of FCB. And, yeah, it's just great. I don't think this happens that often where somebody internally gets lifted up. I guess it does. Maybe I'm trying to think back. Maybe it happens a little bit, but it's really nice when you don't have to bring someone in from the outside. And I think that was the other thing, is that we didn't need to fix anything.
Right.
So, I think that's when you go outside, is when you're at that place where you're like, we got to make some changes.
Right.
Whereas continue,
Mm-hmm.
repeat and do better. And I think Andres brings, some of the things I like about Andres is he's very much into innovation, tech,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about new ways to go into the market with creativity. And I'm much more of a foundational thinker.
Okay.
Like there are practices that if you lean into, you're going to have success. And that's what we've done the last 9 years. We've got the foundational sort of basics under control.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think, I think he can add that. And I think he's also, I'm a little bit of an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's weird because you wouldn't think it, but it is. It's like, and he's much more of an extrovert,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to talk to people all the time, whereas I'm much more like, I'm going to give you a lot of space. So we're different, which I think is right. I think it's good. It's like, you don't want a mini me. You want, what's next.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but you also have, very interesting that you brought someone in from inside to lead
Yeah.
FCB on a global level. And in India, you've had a completely different approach. You brought in Dheeraj also from a different agency. And I
Yeah.
remember when I was here last year chatting with Tina,
Yeah.
and I spoke about the triumvirate of Susan, Chandni, and Swati back in
Right.
India. Of course, Swati has left. Now, how has bringing Dheeraj into that mix shaken things up? And
It's interesting because I think, Rohit, wanted to do something different, and that's usually, that was the change.
Mhm.
And I think Swati too,
Mhm.
and it is a thing that, you come in to do something, and I think when you do it, you're like, okay, I think I've finished. I think that with Diraj, first of all, what he did at Leo Burnett, I found exceptional,
Mhm.
and when we chatted, he has that energy and the sort of space to go to the next level. And I think that when we looked at India, it looked like that there was room to sort of there was space for somebody to bring a point of view in.
Okay.
And, so the key thing with Diraj is, when we were talking, is to make sure he bought into at least the fundamentals of how we work at FCB. Like, we're generous with each other. We're not isolationists,
Mhm.
The network works together. We know each other. We care about each other. Those kind of things, we needed to make sure that he felt that way. I think he has he has a great competitive spirit that is, I think, what India needs right now, to go to the next level. So it's interesting. It's going to be fun.
And tell me, if you had to literally pinpoint, like you spoke about, how on a global level there was nothing to fix. If you were to talk about India, what is that one thing that needed fixing, or maybe improvement on that level, which Dheeraj can bring in?
I'm hoping, and this is one of the things that we talked about last year about this time, was the work that we were doing that was getting honored, and it's beautiful work. But we have a saying at FCB: do your best work on your biggest brands. And what I liked about what Diraj was doing is that he was doing recognizable, respected work on big, big, hard brands. And that's where I'm hoping that we'll see some real energy, which is that on the clients that keep the lights on, they also keep the creative awards coming. And that's when you don't want those two things separated. You don't want the award-winning work that is reputational, and then the work that drives the agency profits. They should work together.
Right.
I mean, we believe that creativity is an economic multiplier, and to prove that, we have to put that creative against our biggest businesses, that and where it matters most. And that's when you really, I think, see the importance of creativity versus just loving it and making you feel good. It's like it's got to work. The work has to work.
And FCB has been doing very well at Cannes this year, but on an India level, we haven't really converted any shortlists into medals at FCB.
Right.
So, is that something that you're unhappy about, or do you think? Of course, this was a work in progress here for Dheeraj and team.
Yeah.
But there's that, that winning streak over the past
Yeah.
5 years, if I may say so, and that kind of
Yeah.
got interrupted. So,
Yeah.
what do you really think about
I'm
that?
really patient.
Okay.
I am. I'm like, nobody remembers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, as long as you have an ambition and you're building towards it and you're making the right decisions, it's like, I always go back to agriculture. The dirt has to look pretty plain and ugly
Mhm.
before the crops look beautiful and grow.
Wow.
And, it's like you got to till the soil. And, I live across the street from a farm and I see it every season,
Mhm.
right when everything looks like, wow, is anything happening there? And then all of a sudden, if
Mhm.
you're taking care of the soil the right way, you're getting it right, you're getting the nutrients right,
Mhm.
you put the seeds in and fruit, it's fruitful. And so
Mhm.
as long as I see the proactivity of tilling the soil, getting it ready,
Mhm.
I got time. I got time.
But I think Dheeraj will have that pressure of making sure that the soil bears fruit by next year.
Yeah, no, and he already is. I mean,
Mhm.
he said, we were talking last week, and he said, I'm bringing all my leads, creative leads, to Cannes.
Mhm.
And he said, and I know it sounds counterintuitive because you think you should only come when you're going on stage, when you've got work and I think that's a little silly.
Mhm.
It's like the people who should come to Cannes are the people that want to get on stage. It's like, how are you going to learn,
Mhm.
if you don't see? So I think the fact that, and they're working really hard. Like I mean, he's meeting with them every day. They go look at work. They talk about it. They talk about the ambition, what clients that they have
Mhm.
that are the first to bet on for taking them on this wonderful creative journey.
Mhm.
If he wasn't doing that, I would be worried.
Mhm.
But the fact that I see him actively making decisions to get ready
Mhm.
to have a crop,
Right.
a creative crop, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. I think FCB has brought in one of the biggest contingents this year. And I remember last year it would be just maybe Rohit and a couple others. And this
Mhm.
year we have like the full team.
Yeah.
And he's also like hired a lot of people
Yes.
from Burnett, even otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's a new team that is going to get us some action.
I think so. I think when you combine the culture of FCB with Diraj's vision,
Mm-hmm.
I think those two things together. He's done it before.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's in a very supportive culture that's pulling for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll do it again.
Any advice did you when he came on board? Did you give him something to hold on to?
I think mainly what we said, which is that we win together. We're here to support him.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in a judgy, like, let's go situation. The reason I said I'm patient is I really believe I'd rather get there a little slower and it be real
Mm-hmm.
than get there faster and it be a little fake. And a lot of times what happens around here,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, is that foundational, like to who they are, or is it a little thing that they did on the side out of panic to make sure that they showed up?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that kind of solution. I
Mhm.
like it to be real, and it's in the DNA of the agency that we know how to get to this work, and I think, that's what he's doing, and he knows how to do it.
I remember last time when I spoke to you, you spoke about how Cannes has become this mecca for sob stories. And, we need to add some fun.
Yes.
So do you think this year at Cannes, we are seeing that fun? Has it come back to Cannes?
More.
Okay.
I think a little bit, but look, we just won a Grand Prix for barf bags for
Oh,
Dramamine.
an amazing.
so I would say we're trying. We're trying to add a little levity to this, industry. I still think and maybe this is a good thing as human beings, we get seduced by
Mhm.
nice, helping people, helping the world. I personally, a lot of the times, I don't think that's our job. I get
Mhm.
worried sometimes when we get into this. We figured out how to solve, climate change. And I'm like, there are brilliant people who haven't figured this out. If we think we're figured it out, I'm scared. And it's not that we shouldn't be doing that kind of work, but I don't think that's what our real job is day to day. Our job is to move economy.
Mhm.
It's to grow businesses. It's to innovate on products. We're in a, economy thing. We sell products and we build brands.
Mhm.
We sell services. And we should be doing that. And yes, I agree that you know, when you are making a decision, you make a decision with your heart. And if you believe a company's doing good things in the world, there's a good chance that moves your heart a little bit. But I think we have to be balanced about it. And don't forget that we also, it's just fun to, it's nice. I was with a woman, Nick Taylor, who's in-house Lego creative, and she's awesome. But we were looking at some work that was just, traditional print and stuff like that. And we decided we were not going to use the word traditional anymore. We were going to use the word proper. That is a proper ad. That is a proper piece of advertising. And, I still, when I go down to the basement of the Palais, my favorite thing to look at is print and outdoor because it's so fast. It's so good. It has to deliver a message so quickly. And you realize that even when they're selling just, a product, if they sell it in a beautiful, creative way, even if they're not saving the world, you love the brand.
So what are the big campaigns that you're really betting on? Of course, some of them have already converted on a global stage, but apart from that, even from India, for that matter.
Well, I have to say I'm not as up to speed with what's coming out of India. And I think we talked about that it's a light year this year. I think in our world, we've got barf bags, which I mentioned. We've got spread beats for Spotify. It's really cool. It's low tech, lo-fi, which is nice. And Lap of Legends, which is our latest Michelob Ultra, which I'm really proud of that team because they could have stopped 5 years ago with this crazy, what do you think we can do next sort of creative. And they just keep coming up with really imaginative, crazy ways to deliver on It's Only Worth It If You Enjoy It. So that one's doing really well. It's interesting. We were saying that if every agency in FCB had one beautiful piece, it would be a spectacular can. Spectacular. It doesn't, and I think that's the thing, is it only takes one or two, beautiful things, wonderful things. And if every agency could do a little bit of that, and I like thinking about it that way because then it makes it possible. Attainable. Like when somebody goes, we need you to deliver 17 lions next year, you're like, I don't know how to do that. But if you just say, do one great thing, just do one great thing. One great thing, we'll support you, we'll figure it out. But everybody put one thing on the table. It's kind of like, I always think about it, it's like Thanksgiving dinner. You don't want one relative to bring everything. If everybody brings a little bit, it's a really great dinner. If one person's responsible for the whole dinner, you kind of hate everybody at the table. So
That's great. I'm sure FCB is going to perform just the way you want it to. And everybody's going to put in that one big campaign on the table every year.
that's been the goal. And what normally happens, sadly, is you don't get the full suite, but every year it's slightly different. Like, 1 year London will pick up the slack. Somebody's making Thanksgiving dinner back there. There's some anger going on. So it does rotate. I'm actually, one of the pieces that I'm really proud of is Brazil's Shameless Pad, which is they got pro sports player women to, when they were playing on their period, to wear the brand on their shorts. Which is pretty brave. I mean, to think about. And because we found out that young girls, when they had their period, didn't think that they could play sports. And it's like, no, you can perform. This is not, and especially, and what I love about it is it says that you can trust the product to let you perform at your best. So and I think I was talking to the Brazilian team that did it, and, they're not one and done. They're going to continue to push on this platform. So I like that. It's done. It's gotten some bronzes and things, so it's nice. But yeah, I don't know. I look around I'm going around the world to all the agencies, and that everybody's got plans. And I also think that the creative that really gets honored, it's hard to do it in 1 year. So there are a lot of things that we just said it's not ready this year. Take your time, do it right. We don't work for the awards. We work for the work. And we hope that when we do the work right, people recognize what we've done.
I think they have always recognized what you've done. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Neeta.
Susan, always wonderful speaking to you.
I love it. It's good to see you.